everyone, it's Gary here from Echidna Sewing. Today I'm going to show you how to oil the hook on the Halo 100 12 needle embroidery machine. So oiling your hook is one of those things that you really do need to do. It's a daily process every time you use the machine, and the hook is the part that actually forms the stitch, and if you don't oil the hook, it will run dry and it will run hot and it'll cause thread shredding and breaking and some really poor quality stitching. But more importantly, if you don't oil it, you will eventually damage the hook and it will need replacing. So it is important. But good news, it's very, very easy. So let's take a look. So the hook is where the bobbin case sits in the machine. So let's just open up this little cover here and I'll remove the bobbin case. So take that guy out. And that exposes the hook, and I'll just use my tweezers to show you. So hopefully camera guy get a nice close-up here, but this is what we call the hook and base system, and it's the stitch formation mechanism. And right here, this machine's currently in its standard stop position, and you'll see right there where I'm pointing, that is the hook point, and that's the point that actually picks up the thread to form the stitch, and it passes by the needle every revolution to pick up the thread and make that stitch. It's basically comprised of two components. We have the rotary hook, which is the part that spins, and that's the part on these machines that you see as like a chromey or a steel color, a silvery steel color, and that spins around what's called the base. Hence we call this the hook and base system. The base is, on these machines, is the black part. So this is a Teflon coated base, and it's black and it stays stationary. And that's the part that the bobbin case goes over. In fact, the bobbin case slips onto this spindle just here. And so we have this steel part here spinning around this black part at up to 1,000 revolutions per minute. So you can imagine that does a fair bit of work, can get hot if it's not oiled, and will obviously not work terribly well if it's not lubricated. So oiling this guy is very simple. You do get a bottle of oil, of course, in your kit, and the bottle that comes with the machine looks like this here. Hopefully camera guy can see that. And this is okay, it's good oil, it's a nice white machine oil. You can use this bottle if you like. Just a little tip, when you get a pin or something to pop the hole in the top of it, don't make it too big a hole, otherwise you'll have gushes of oil coming out of it. And you don't want gushes of oil when you're oiling the hook, you only want a couple of drops. Personally, I prefer to use this little oil bottle that we now have available, and it's got a very, very fine little, well, almost like a syringe or a needle end on it, so it doesn't let too much oil out of. So I've now just got one of these and I've filled it with some white machine oil. And you do need to use sewing machine oil. Please don't use silicone oil or any other type of oil. Use white sewing machine oil, which is readily available from any sewing machine store, and of course we sell it online as well. Now, the part you need to oil, and I'll use the tip of this to show you, is where the hook rotates around the base. And on the Halo 100, it's quite easy to identify because you've got the steel colored silver steel and the black base, and it's where those two meet. So where I'm pointing right now is essentially where the oil needs to get to. Now, you don't need a lot. Quite literally, you need 1 or 2 drops of oil. And so just take your oil point to there and just there. I put a couple of drops in there, and that's all there is to it. You do not need to put any more oil on, but you do need to do that every day you use it. And if you're using the machine, you know, pretty much right throughout the day, you may need to oil it twice a day. It does mean the machine's going to run better, it's going to run smoother, and you're going to get better stitching. So that's all there is to oiling the hook. Once you have oiled it, what I do recommend is cycling the machine a couple of times just to get the oil rotating around the hook. And on the Halo 100, because it doesn't have an exposed hand wheel, it's very simple to do. So we're going to have a look at the screen here and show you how to cycle the hook. So whenever we're doing any maintenance or turning the machine over, cycling the hook, I always get into the habit of going to needle 1 to do that. So right now the machine is set on needle 6, and in order to get to needle 1, we just hit the needle change option there, and I'm just going to hit 1. The needle will now cycle over to 1. And at that point, I'm now going to make the machine do a couple of revolutions. And the easiest way to do that, but first, of course, take the thread out of the needle eye, because we don't want the thread getting caught anywhere. So I've removed the thread from the needle eye. I don't want it going down into the machine. And to cycle the hook, we'll just escape from our needle change option. And you do see you've got a 100 degrees marker on the bottom left of the machine here. So if we just hit that button, and then you'll see you have a main shaft up and a main shaft down option. So if we hit the main shaft down, that's now taken the needle to the down point. But what it has also done is it meant the hook has actually cycled a couple of turns. And if I now escape out of that, it will now bring the main shaft up, or the needle up, and the hook has cycled a couple more turns. And that's all you need to do. So all that's done is taken the hook, it's rotated it 3 or 4 times, and that's just circulated that little bit of oil that you've put on the hook. And that's it. There's nothing more complex to it. It's a very simple process, but it's an important one. So please be sure every day you use the machine, oil that hook, and if you're using it all day, twice, sometimes even 3 times a day doesn't hurt. It just keeps the machine running beautifully. So hope that helps. Happy embroidering.